Guilty movie pleasure fans, in honor of Halloween this past Monday, we're talking about my paper stuck to my hand, whatever. No, we're talking about Evil Dead 2, the grooviest horror comedy to ever walk the undead earth. Dead by Dawn! Dead by Dawn!
Welcome to Popcorn Talk, featuring movie discussion, news, and interviews. Popcorn Talk, we talk movies. And now, here's Popcorn Talk's Guilty Movie Pleasures.
Shake, Weight, Dance. It wouldn't be a Guilty Movie Pleasures episode if we didn't start it off with the Shake, Weight, Dance.
No, indeed.
I had a much cooler intro planned, and then the paper sticking to my hand threw me off.
Keeping you on your toes.
Dead by Dawn, Dead by Dawn. Ladies and gentlemen, in honor of Halloween being Monday and because I refuse to let Halloween go quietly into the night, I like to let it linger for a week.
It's a war on Thanksgiving.
I like to say this is a war on Thanksgiving.
We're doing that. We're starting that here.
Yes, we're starting a war on Thanksgiving here, where we're just going to continue Halloween through November. Definitely no Christmas decorations yet, even though the Grove is already decorated to the max with that.
Abysmal.
But we're talking Evil Dead 2. I got Jesse McIntosh back with us, as always. He's here to stay. We got a special guest tonight, Dave Kane. He's a good buddy of mine and fellow comedian. Tell us a little bit about yourself, Dave.
I'm Dave.
That's all we need to know. Moving on. Perfect.
That's my jam.
You have a sketch team, right?
I have a sketch team called Tiny Muscles.
Check you guys out.
I'm writing for a cartoon called Splash and Bubbles right now. That's going to be out November 23rd.
Where at?
For the children, for the preschoolers. But I also wrote a horror film.
Yeah, where can they find that?
For the preschoolers. Well, that's not out yet.
Okay.
It's at film festivals now.
That's awesome.
Around.
Are you able to tell us what it's called? I know what it is.
It's called The Sub.
The Sub.
The Sub? Is it about a sandwich?
It's about a substitute. It should be about a sub.
Yeah.
When I do the Sub trilogy, I'm going to do one about a submarine sandwich, one about a substitute teacher, and one about a Russian submarine. And
I like that.
Yeah.
Not a yellow submarine.
No.
Because that'd be plagiarizing.
Yeah, like Soviet
But
Cold
it's
War.
in the Soviet submarine. The Soviet submarine is filled with ham and cheese.
Yes.
And it's like,
Wait a minute.
And the guy is like, this is not usually my job. I'm just filling in for somebody. I'm the substitute sub commander.
I love it. The Sub trilogy. Well, we'll get more on where to find David Kane at the end of the show. And what now, though, I want to focus on Evil Dead 2, Dead by Dawn, that whole sequence there. Can we just play the Dead by Dawn so people know what I was doing?
We want what is yours.
Life! Dead by Dawn! Dead by Dawn! Dead by Dawn! Dead by Dawn! Dead by Dawn!
So creepy. So creepy.
They have a goal and they have a timetable.
They do. We want what's yours.
I bet they have a
Life.
vision board also. Like if you go into their adolescent rooms, they have something up there that's like I want life.
Dead by Dawn.
Dead by
I
Dawn.
want life.
Dead by
Dead
Dawn.
by Dawn.
Dead by Dawn.
So I had seen that. I want to talk about how each of us first came upon watching this movie and our first experience with it. Jesse, as usual, it'll be rather fresh for you.
Yeah.
But for me, I grew up watching. My buddy Corey introduced me to Army of Darkness, which is the third in the Evil Dead
I feel
trilogy.
like we shout out Corey in every show.
We
What
do
up,
every
Corey?
day. What up, Corey? Oh, and I am wearing an Ash vs. Evil Dead t-shirt.
That has
'Cause
nothing to do
If you're
with
not
Corey.
watching Ash vs. Evil Dead on Starz, it's $8.99 a month. Just get it for 1 month and blow through all 2 seasons because it's amazing. It's so fun. They're halfway through the second season. It's everything this movie is times 10. It's gory. It's silly. It's smart. It's got Lucy Lawless in it. She's badass. It's got Bruce Campbell again. It's a really, really good time. And it's the original creators, Sam Raimi and all that. So check out Ash vs. Evil Dead on Starz. But back to this, Evil Dead 2, Dead by Dawn. I saw Army of Darkness when I was a kid. Because I was a chicken. We talked about this on the show a few times with all the horror movies we've been covering this month. And I was scared of anything creepy when I was a kid.
Oh, yeah?
And so Army of Darkness was a real easy way in. I think I was like 10 maybe when I first saw it, and I remember being like, this movie's awesome because it's more of it's almost like LARPing with zombies and a dude with a chainsaw hand and a boomstick. Like that's
it is like LARPing.
It's like how I would like to LARP if it was like, oh hey, what kind of metal do you want to wear? Chainsaw hand.
It's like LARPing, but that's like the first time anybody ever made like a low budget sword and sandal epic, on a like budget.
Yeah.
And then that led to like Lucy Lawless and Xena Warrior Princess, because that's like the first time they were like, oh, we could do this on like a TV budget. And so basically then you get Game of Thrones.
Yeah.
Because
of Army of Darkness,
we
can
can
thank Army of Darkness for having Game of Thrones.
Draw a straight line from one to the other. Yep.
It's pretty great. So Army of Darkness was the one I watched a ton. I didn't even know that Evil Dead 1 and 2 existed when I was a kid until like maybe, I think, late high school or early college. And I saw Evil Dead 1 and I was like, what the hell? This is way different. I think I saw it in that order where I saw Evil Dead 1, then I saw this, and I was like, the scene alone where he's smashing the head around and then when he has to chop off his own hand and his hand attacks him. I was telling Jesse when I was warning him about it, I was like, just to give him a kind of a context, I was like, it's like Three Stooges with ultra gore is what this movie is. And it's so fun.
Yeah, exactly.
And I love this movie. I think I have to revisit Army of Darkness because I haven't seen it in a few years, but this may be the best of the trilogy, even though Army of Darkness is my nostalgic favorite.
Yeah, this is like definitely like the pinnacle of the two. Like some people like this, some people like Evil Dead, but this is like a Sam Raimi movie with a capital R.
It's
like,
so ridiculous.
Whatever the hell that means.
I like it. I understood it.
So like I remember.
It's movier.
Movier. It's the
Movier.
capital R at the
Yeah,
end.
the end is
Movier.
at the R.
Yeah.
So Dave, what was
Exactly.
your? Because yours is a little bit more.
Yours is better.
Yours, go in.
Well,
mine
Because you were
was.
saying how when you went to school in Michigan, right?
Yeah.
How like Sam Raimi's like the man there because that's where.
Yeah, I
they
went to
filmed this in.
Michigan State.
Yeah.
And Sam went to Michigan State, and Rob Tapert, and Bruce didn't, but he like hung out, and they were like.
He was the
hanging
weird
out.
guy.
He was the
like
weird
the
guy hanging out in
25-year-old guy
college.
at frat parties.
He was the Matthew McConaughey or was it Ben Affleck in Dazed and Confused?
I think it was McConaughey.
It's McConaughey.
Yeah,
Yeah, he's
yeah,
the
yeah,
McConaughey
yeah.
from Dazed and Confused.
Totally.
Perfect.
And then so they were the people that came out of that school, even though they like dropped out and went and made Evil Dead and then went on.
So
and on and
it
on.
wasn't even their film degree, but that school,
wasn't-
Michigan State is like, Sam Raimi went here for one, just like MacGyver
For, like,
went to
maybe
Ohio
2
University.
or 3 years. Yeah.
MacGyver went to Ohio University for a semester, and he got expelled for rolling a keg down Jeff Hill. And everyone's like, MacGyver went to our school. It doesn't count if they got expelled halfway through the year.
But wait, MacGyver rolled a keg down a hill. It was probably for a purpose.
It was
I would
probably-
think
it was probably, yes.
It was probably some other reason.
It was prior to his MacGyver days.
Oh, okay. I got you.
probably
He was
something
training.
like
He was
that.
in training.
Oh, yeah,
He was working things out.
So when did you see this for the first time?
When did I see this for the first time? I feel like I saw this for the first time in high school. I did,
Was Army of Darkness your intro?
Army of Darkness was the intro, because this is the quintessential movie when you were a kid and you would take a walk down the horror aisle just to like be a little
Oh,
scared.
yeah.
And you'd see that cover.
This cover right here, that skeleton,
Like,
I remember being like,
That, yeah.
it has nothing to do with the movie.
Nothing at all.
This is never in the movie.
Yeah, no. Something about that uncanny valley of like the eyes still being in the skeleton. That and the Dead Alive.
Yeah, the Dead Alive cover
Oh,
was
yeah.
was super with the skull in the middle, right?
Oh yeah. Well, it's
Or
like
no?
coming out of her, like her. She's like holding her mouth open, and there's a
Again,
skull.
something else that has nothing to do with the movie,
No,
but it
nothing
was
to
so
do with the movie.
iconic.
It's a cool image.
Yeah.
Though.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Terrifying as a kid.
Did it freak you out when you saw this movie?
When I saw this movie in high school. Oh, so even in high school, I was I'm still like a super horror movie wimp, and like.
That's why we have you in between us right now, so that
Yeah.
you feel safe.
So that I can be like,
Yeah. So that you, yeah.
Help me!
So then in high school, I developed this ability to just talk through the entire movie, and that's how I would get through it. And then I got like,
Oh, I would hate watching a movie with you in high school.
oh yeah, but actually like a lot of girls really liked watching a movie with me.
yeah.
So
Well,
like
that worked out great.
yeah, it worked out great. So then it'd be like Dave and 8 girls and me being like, oh, don't go in there. What are you doing? This is crazy. And they're like, this makes it so much easier to watch a horror film.
I would kind of like to watch a video of you watching. I would not like to watch a movie with you, but I would like to see this happen because it sounds fascinating.
yeah,
It's like Mystery Science Theater 3000 with 8 women and Dave.
yeah.
Sounds amazing.
just anxiety bubbling over.
Oh, totally. But so then that was like how I watched this the first time.
Yeah.
And also like this is a really good movie for you to feel like you're watching something that's super scary, but it's not that scary.
It's not, but it has like even the the Deadite sounds in it, like that voice we just heard with the "We want what you have live," and just like, because part of what scares me is and scares anybody is the unexpected. It's the same thing with comedy and horror, where they're both closely related in reactions.
Right.
So when you hear these creepy, weird sound effects and these very macabre, like Deadite things flying around and their mouths aren't moving, so it's even weirder.
Right.
And then the ones, so it's just you're shocked by the things that happen because you can't predict this movie because it doesn't. You can't predict this movie because you're just like, what the hell's gonna happen next? It's so weird.
Exactly.
It's super
just
out
like
there.
this podcast. You can't
You
predict
can't
this
predict.
podcast.
You can't predict it. So now,
You guys are going off script right now.
Jesse, what? Hey, hold the cue card a little higher. Jesse, what was your initial reaction? Since have you seen any of the other Evil Dead?
I have seen nothing. I have seen no Evil Dead movies. I have seen none of the series Ash vs. Evil Dead. So
you know anything about it,
I didn't know
Brian?
anything about it. I knew that it was going to focus on the portion of the dead that are evil.
Yep.
And not the like cool chill dead.
Cool, chill dead.
Yeah, chill. Well, there was like one chill dead guy,
And they weren't
like
gonna
the
be-
dad ended up being like pretty chill. He like showed up and was like, "Oh, you
But there
need
should be some guys that are like, hey man, can I have your soul?
Yeah.
Come on,
No.
Hey, looking for a soul.
I just really like
Hey, we'll work for souls.
What are these voices? Why do we sound like Aaron Neville asking for?
I think either of the Neville brothers.
So,
I think we could be right now.
Not to get us.
No, not at all.
So what was your reaction?
So you
to it
gave me
since
you gave
got-
me a little bit of a heads up, which I appreciated.
You probably needed it a little bit, I
Genre
would
context
assume,
is
'cause-
important,
yeah.
because it could go in a couple of different ways, and at different points in the movie, it does go in different ways. So at some points, Ash is like very serious and like trying to figure this out and afraid for his life. At some points, there's blood gushing through the wall. Which is never explained, and then just sucked back into the wall.
Absurd amount of blood ever.
Yeah, and then you talked about like the head that he puts in the vice, and like his hand chasing him around, and like just like by all accounts, Ash after the first 5 minutes of the movie should be dead. Just like the abuse that he takes. So there's a lot of like slapstick elements involved. So just a heads up, so you know what you're getting into. But once I was sort of mentally prepared for it. It was really enjoyable, like for all the things that you guys are saying. Like
Awesome.
it's a soft landing, as far as like the horror genre goes.
Yeah.
And like there were several moments of the movie where by myself I laughed out loud, and I'm sure my wife was like, "What the hell? Like I thought you were watching Evil Dead. Like what's going on out there?" But I was audibly laughing, both like with them and then at them. It was just a lot of fun.
That's awesome because I feel like I still feel like I owe it to Jesse to make up for the fact that I made us watch Texas Chainsaw Massacre 2 a couple weeks ago.
Oh, yeah.
And we still have the after effects of that. But he's
That's
also
PTSD.
got
I wake
to
up
watch
at 3
Trick or
a.m.
Treat and Return of the Living Dead and The Purge Anarchy. So those are all solid. I think we did
wins.
one more.
4 wins.
We did another one. I can't remember what it was. Anyway, so now before we get too deep,
King's Speech?
too far off the rails, the King's Speech, the most
Did you guys
horrifying
do the
movie
King's
in the English. No, that'd
I
be
mean, I've
hilarious.
seen it in my life.
So we're gonna do the plot in under 3 minutes. We're gonna try and do this. The plot in 3 minutes, and I'll start it off, and we're gonna keep going back and forth until our heads explode. And are we ready in the booth, Steve? Yeah. Okay. In 3, 2, 1. So we start off with an opening VO, and they're talking about Ash and his girlfriend Linda and how they went to the forest and this cabin in the woods, and they're all hanging out. And it's like, hey, we shouldn't be here, but the owners won't come back anytime soon. Don't worry about it. Hey, let's get groovy and all this stuff. And then, boom, she gets possessed by the Deadites. Oh, what's happening? Oh, I'm being attacked by her. Oh, shovel to the head, cuts her head off, and then she dies. You think that her head comes back to life. He bites his hand. He's flinging it around. He slams it into a vice grip, chainsaws it. And then what else?
So wait, so he gets possessed and gets thrown through the forest and lands in this puddle. And then the sun comes up and he's like battling the spirits are battling with the sun, and then the spirits exit his body. And so he's like, fuck, I gotta get this under control. So he gets in his car, he goes back to the bridge that he came to the cabin on, and the bridge has like disintegrated.
Yeah.
And so then cut to the two people who are like bringing the scripture back to the cabin.
They just happen to have the exact pages you need.
Yeah. Yep.
Perfect.
So they're coming back to the cabin, and then they hit a roadblock, and the guy's like, "Oh, I can't come through here. Bridge is gone, but I can take you through the forest."
With Bobby Joe.
Yeah. The woman named Bobby Joe, the woman with 2 male first names.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay, Dave.
So then cut back to Ash. Ash, it's getting dark again. Ash has to deal with the Evil Dead again.
His hand, right?
His hand flips out for some reason, and
That turns black and craggy.
Just turns black and craggly, and then he goes into the kitchen. He starts smashing dishes over the top of his head.
One of my favorite sequences.
Yeah, so good. Then he gets a chainsaw. He chops off his hand, and the hand
with no repercussions.
Yeah.
He just cuts his hand off.
perfectly fine.
Yeah, he feels good after that.
It's fine.
And then the hand chases around the cabin, starts shooting in his hand.
Blood gushes out of the walls.
Blood gushes out of the walls.
Then he's aiming again, and boo, you hear something, and then you realize, oh no, it's Bobby Joe. And then Overalls, that's all I know him as because I don't ever remember his name, but Overalls comes in and starts beating him up, and they throw him down in the cellar, where you realize that architect, archaeologist girl, Henrietta's down there,
the mom,
yeah. And he's like, get me out of here! And then they let him up, and Overalls gets tugged in. Is that way later?
That's way later, but that's okay.
But
Yeah,
it's
that's
fine.
all right.
Oh, and then Kendall gets possessed, and he's like, we want your soul, dead by dawn, dead by dawn, dead by dawn. And then what happens? Fuck, I can't remember.
Everybody dies.
Yeah, everybody dies.
Everybody keeps getting possessed.
Bobby Joe
eaten
gets
and
flung
dying.
out of the, or she runs out of
She
the
gets
cabin.
taken
and
off
she
by a
gets
tree,
taken
and
off.
you never see her
Yep.
again.
So they get the pages. They go and they get the
Yeah, yeah.
pages, and then Ash gets possessed.
Yeah.
And then so he's trying to stop her from getting the pages. They throw the pages down into the basement. Ash runs down after the spirit leaves him again.
Yeah, he goes and gets the pages.
He goes and gets the pages. He does the
has to
chainsaw
fight.
to his
and then
wrist.
the chainsaw groovy, and then he goes, bites him, and chops her up, shoots her, suck on this, swallow this,
And
shoots her
then
in the
there's
face.
a time
And then they
go
get
back into
sucked
time.
into the
And
Army
then
of
he gets sucked
Darkness.
into the Army of Darkness.
And he's
And
down
he's
the
king.
stairs there.
He's
Yes.
king.
Wow, that's really hard to remember all the...
Yeah, because that movie just goes, okay, you're doing this now.
Yeah.
Okay, you're doing that now.
It's so hard to remember movies that are really non-linear.
Because like we didn't even explain when the whole cabin like goes crazy.
Yeah,
And he's like,
it's all laughing. Oh, it's so good.
Yeah.
So let's get into some of our favorite scenes here, because the opening bit, Dave, can you give context
So the funny thing about
for
this,
what
or
happens
context,
with Evil Dead 1
Yeah.
and how much they... Because if I remember right, I've only seen Evil Dead 1 once or twice, and it was a while ago, but if I remember right, they went up to the cabin with a couple friends, right?
Right.
And it's a slow burn to a crazy ending.
Yeah,
right?
yeah. It's basically the first 10 minutes of this movie.
And they just cut out the friends.
is the whole movie.
But they
Like,
cut out the friends.
Yeah,
in
they
the
cut
first.
out the friends in Evil Dead 2. But yeah, like in Evil Dead 2, he hasn't been to that cabin before.
Yeah.
So it's not technically like a real sequel.
It's technically a remake that expands on the third
'Cause I
act
think-
of the first movie.
And man, it's been a while, so I feel like, how does Evil Dead 1 end? It's like that's when he gets possessed, and that's like the
think
end.
so. I don't remember.
It's like that's how it.
So
yeah.
let me just say, I'm glad that is the case. Like, I didn't know any of that, and I came in and I was like, Ben, fill me in on Evil Dead 1, and he basically told me that. It's like, thank God, because the first 10 minutes of the movie, I was like, they are packing a lot of stuff in here. There's a ton, and like he turns on a dime when his girlfriend gets possessed. He just straight kills her and doesn't like sweat it.
This is the thing I'm confused about in the rules of the Evil Dead universe, even in the show Ash vs. Evil Dead, because Ash gets possessed, then when the sun comes out, it goes away. Then he gets possessed again, and when he sees Linda's necklace, it goes away. So why does Ash just brutally murder Deadites that are newly possessed instead of trying to make them remember?
You know what?
In every
I never
context.
thought about that before, Ben. That totally mixes things up.
So then, right?
It does. It fucks you up.
I never thought of
Because
that.
then you're like, man, why doesn't he just try and get Linda to turn back instead of cutting her head
That's
off?
hilarious. He is just murdering.
Especially
all
since
of
he
these
knows
people.
he can turn back.
Yeah.
Unless, here's the thing.
He's been turned into a Deadite like 1,000 times.
Unless what it is that Ash is the chosen one, and that's why he can fight it.
Yeah. That
But
must be
then,
it.
but
That
then,
must be
okay.
it.
But then also in the
I don't
beginning
really care.
sequence,
I think it's awesome.
I don't care either.
It'd be
because
way boring if he talked them all back from being Deadites.
You
I'd
just have,
rather
like,
see him
it's
chop everybody
a psychology
up.
session. He's like, lay down on the couch, wait
It's like
for the
in
sun to
treatment
come
with
up.
Gabriel Byrne.
Yeah, you're not really
Ash.
evil. You're just misunderstood, Dead.
But so then the first sequence where he's getting chased through the house by the Deadites.
Yeah.
The Deadites roll through the wooden walls with no problem. They just like bust the whole house up.
Yep.
And then for the rest of the movie, he's like pretty safe in the house, unless he like creates an opening.
They just,
then they can come
it's
in.
because they have some more forceful Deadites that are disembodied
Sometimes
cameras.
they're doing better. Sometimes they're a little weaker.
That shot's incredible. I know it's probably not all one shot, but it looks like it is.
Yeah.
Where can we play the Deadite sound effect because it's so scary? The Deadite number 1. Always just like screaming, just zooming through the forest to the door. To Ash. He's like cartwheeling around through the forest.
Yeah.
It's so good.
Where it sounds like they're chasing him on an ATV. Like a little, it's just like they're on some sort of motorized vehicle off-roading.
Ghost camera ATV.
Yeah, so we get that the rules are a little fast and loose, but
Which is fine.
It's fine.
Like,
Because
it's
it's all a
fine.
vehicle to just see him
'Cause,
murder
like,
the shit out of some.
And they sort of establish it right away. Like there are rules that when we need them we'll use them, but like when we're not using them, just sort of let them go.
Right.
And just
Yeah.
enjoy what's going on.
Well, like if you see like a bad horror movie, they do that all the time, but then they do that in a way that's always like either uninteresting or like, have you ever seen Rock and Roll Nightmare?
No.
No.
Oh, it's crazy. It's hilarious. It's like ridiculous because you're like, oh, this came out of nowhere, but why?
Yeah.
And this one, you're like, this came out of nowhere. I'll go with it.
It's
sure.
awesome. Yeah. Like, for instance, when this, when he's hanging out there after Linda's dead, and her corpse digs herself back out and is now naked, and the ballerina sequence with no head on is amazing. It's the stop motion. It looks like something out of Nightmare Before Christmas, decades before Nightmare Before Christmas.
Yeah, that's exactly what I
And
thought.
it's
Yeah.
incredible. And then the fact I was cracking up. So I already mentioned this, but when she bites his hand and then he's running around the cabin, you mentioned this too, where he's slamming her head. It's so funny. And Bruce Campbell's physical comedy in this, it's the right balance of over the top without ever getting too zany. I don't know how he does it because he goes batshit in this. But it's always somehow, it's like when we talked about Ace Ventura, how it's always still somehow grounded in something.
So yeah, that's exactly what I was going to say, because we talked about it in Ace Ventura, we talked about it in Texas Chainsaw Massacre 2, when the it wasn't grounded, and it really took me out of a lot of what was going on. But this felt like, you said, a lot of the physical comedy, a lot of what he was doing with his face, because there was a lot with like the eyebrows and a lot of like facial expressions
His
going
big
berserk.
eyes.
Yeah. But that all felt like part of the world that I was watching.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Well, you mentioned when we talked about this over the weekend at the convention about how him going comedically insane, and how you were saying like how it's funny because
Right.
where
That's
like
what I was
in
saying,
normal
yeah.
horror films people don't react to the situations, they don't
Yeah.
react appropriately.
And like they don't react. They don't like he keeps getting knocked down and getting back up, and I really feel like.
But he's crazier each time.
Yeah,
he's affected by it.
crazier each time because this has become his reality,
Yeah.
and he's just like, I don't know.
He has
So-
no grip on reality in this movie, and it's
Yeah.
awesome. Because when he sees the naked corpse dancing, can we play number 2, his scream when he wakes up from his dream? And that's like 20 minutes in. He's already at that stage.
Yeah.
Well, you see a naked corpse dancing.
Yeah, right.
I did
That
appreciate
would
like
be where I would be.
Yeah, but like in the first 10 minutes when it was a whirlwind, and I was like, what the fuck is happening right now? Like her doing the ballet dancing, like her alive doing the ballet dancing was remarkable to me. Like I made a note of that. I was like, that's interesting. Like normally, like when people are seductive dancing, they're doing something a little like slower, like more inclusive, or something that you could reel the other person in. And she was just like ballet dancing. Like what is happening?
Like
right
a
now?
headless nutcracker.
Yeah. So I'm
and
glad.
just hops off into the dark.
I'm glad that was part of her dead persona as well.
And we mentioned Bobby Joe, which she's hilarious because I don't even know the archaeologist girl, and we'll call her Study Girl and Ken doll. I don't know, but
Study Girl and Ken doll.
Study Girl and Ken doll. So Bobby Joe, when she's introduced, she comes out of the truck and she like hawks a huge loogie of chewing tobacco, but she's very attractive.
Right.
And like
She
she's-
doesn't read as redneck as they
This-
wanted her to.
Yeah, so this, I like saw her, like the group of the four of them, I was like, stock character, stock character, stock character. And then Bobby Joe, I was like, I bet she thinks this is her opportunity to be like something that she doesn't usually get to
And you
do.
know what? She's
know
not
what I mean?
bad in it. It's just
No.
she's physically looks nothing like the part.
They didn't like make her dirty. They didn't like give her a hat or like
and her
anything.
overalls, her
You're right.
boyfriend overalls has like missing teeth.
Yeah.
It's like, how did
Right.
Come
they
on.
just uglied him up.
I mean,
Yeah.
that's even
Yeah.
that would be even extreme for like 90s sitcom standards with like Kevin James and and his wife and all that. Like
Maybe she's just rebelling against her parents.
he's clearly older than her and way creepier looking. But I thought that I just remember laughing out loud when she's like, "I'm Baba Joe," and it's like, wait, what?
Yeah.
Amazing.
She was like, I'm really going to get my hands dirty with this role. I'm really going to sink my teeth in. I get to play a hick.
And then so we already talked about the beating the shit out of the head around the house. The hand noises to me were really funny. When the hand comes alive, and his physical comedy went with like making the hand do like poke him in the eyes, throw him around, picking up the plates and smashing it on his head. Hilarious. Then when he's knocked unconscious, the hand is dragging him.
Oh, that's so cool.
And can we play number 4? Because the sound effects here. And then he stabs the hand. And he stabs the hand and takes the chainsaw. Turns the rest of the movie he needs to rev it several hundred times. This time just one rev with his teeth. And can we play number 5? This is what he says as he saws off his own hand. It's a little drowned out by the chainsaw and then blood everywhere. Ah! Who's laughing now? And just
That's iconic movie
So
moment, like
good.
horror movie moment. Yeah, right there.
That I dressed up for Halloween. You can see it on my Twitter page as Ash from Evil Dead, and I had the chainsaw hand because it's so iconic. It's that moment where you're like, holy shit, this is happening. Oh! I don't know what to do with improving with screams so far, but we'll figure out something at some point. Oh, did you notice that when he covers the hand with a bucket, that the book he sets up on top of it is a farewell to arms? Which I thought was so funny
Strong
and
choice.
clever.
Strong
I
choice.
thought that was so
Then
good.
underneath it, it says just like famous authors. Like, it doesn't say. Isn't that Ernest Hemingway?
Yeah, I think so.
It doesn't say Ernest Hemingway.
It's even
on it.
better.
Yeah, it
It's
just
even better.
says by famous.
And the hand doesn't stay in there very long. It gets loose. And that's when it's running through the walls, and he keeps not taking a shot when he has very clear shots for it. And then when he finally hits it, can we play Gotcha Sucker, number 6?
Gotcha, didn't I, you little sucker?
See, there is something this reminds me of, actually. My dad, growing up, we had mice in the attic, and he was really against mice. And so I grew up with this miceophobia, where I was like, oh man, mice are disgusting creatures. And then when I actually saw them, they're really adorable. But my dad instilled miceophobia in me, and I remember he put mouse traps up there. Not to be confused with the awesome game that took 4 hours to set up. No, but
yeah.
actual mouse
Never
traps
actually
that murdered mice. And I remember he would stand up there at certain parts of the day because that was when they would scurry around. And when he heard one of those snap, he got up there and he brought it out, and there's this dead mouse carcass in there, and he just looked at it and said,
Gotcha, didn't I, you little sucker?
Before we move on, I just want to point out that mouse traps don't murder mice. People murder mice.
"You're right. You're right."
Paid for by the mousetrap
yeah.
lobbyists.
But I went trick-or-treating on Monday because you can never be too old to trick-or-treat.
It's debatable.
No, it's not debatable. I want everyone out there to know you're never too old.
If you wear a mask, you're never too old.
That's what I'm saying. But so I was going around and I got to a house and I had gotten mostly like Snickers and Butterfingers up to that point. And I wanted some variety in my plastic pumpkin. So I rang someone's doorbell. I said trick or treat. They brought out their candy and I looked through and I like scanned their bucket. I moved a bunch of stuff around. I saw one lone lollipop in the bottom and I reached it and I grabbed it and I put it right up to my face. I looked at it and I said,
Wrong one. Wrong one.
oh, that might have been the
Gotcha,
right one.
didn't I, you little sucker?
You were so excited you screamed first.
I screamed first. Scream first.
Dave, you got anything for us? If not, it's okay.
Well, you've got a baby that's
Yeah.
about to happen.
Oh, yeah.
really
It's about to
soon.
happen.
Like,
Yeah.
and it could be. I have to actually keep checking my phone every once in a while. Just to
Every
make
once
sure
in a while, just make sure
hasn't gone into
that,
labor.
that
Oh no,
baby-
she hasn't. We're good.
It won't
That's,
happen immediately if she does.
Yeah,
so you've
right.
got time.
I got time.
Yeah.
You know, when Renee is pushing and pushing, she may scream like.
Gotcha, didn't I, you sucker?
I thought you were gonna
scream.
I thought you were gonna go with when I'm bottle feeding, because my wife, when she's
Oh, yes,
if I'm
yes,
trying to
yes.
give her a break from breastfeeding, if I'm bottle feeding the baby and I finally get it to take the bottle, I'm just gonna be looking at her and going,
Gotcha, didn't I, you little sucker?
is she sucking on the
Or,
bottle?
love it.
or like
Love it.
when you have your baby around and like she's old enough to like start to understand words and start to talk, and so you don't want to curse around her, and so you call like when you get like you stub your toe and you're like mother sucker.
Yeah.
Just to like soften the blow a little bit,
Yeah.
and then she can be running away like into something dangerous. You can just grab her and be like,
Gotcha, didn't I, you little sucker?
Or if you ever run into a vampire family
Yeah.
and the kid is
All
a
the
real
time.
asshole about it, you know, you just punch the little vampire kid in the face and say,
Gotcha, didn't I, you little sucker?
I don't know why I just reverted to punching a vampire kid.
punch kids,
Well, no, not kids.
punch kids.
Vampire kids.
You heard it here first. Ben Begley punches kids.
Hashtag punch vampire kids. So we're going to move on from that, even though I loved it. So then the house, after the blood... Oh, so he shoots the wall,
Yeah.
and it starts trickling out. That's why he says, gotcha good, you little sucker. And then, what was your reaction when fire hoses of blood come
Yeah, there were
pouring
like
out?
four of them. I was like,
It's-
what is back there? I thought they were
I
going to
feel like-
reveal something, like something was going to blow through that wall and just be like an army of zombies were coming through. But it wasn't.
No.
It literally like just got him dirty.
Yeah.
And then a vacuum sucked
Yeah.
all the liquid back into the wall. And he was like, well, that's the blood wall. Back upstairs.
And then the walls, and then the
Don't
lamp...
shoot that wall.
The lamp starts laughing, and the books and everything. In fact, the whole house goes nuts, and then Ash goes even more insane. Can we actually play the number 7, The House Laughs? The lamp, and then Ash is going. I love that scene so much. The physical humor in that scene is crazy. And I think we forgot to mention that this all happens because they unearth the Book of the Dead that's written in blood, and the pages are bound, or the cover's bound with human skin, and the guy who found it, who's the dad of Study Girl, I think we call her, he reads from it into a tape recorder. And then when it's read out loud, it unleashes these spirits, the Deadites. And then when they play it again, I guess it makes it worse. It just so every time you play it, it just brings out more. Like it's almost like the Deadites' portal to Earth is like real. It's a short window. It's like an elevator door. And if you
Right,
don't put your
right,
hand, if you're like, oh shit, I didn't know we were getting called. Hold that elevator to the cabin for me. Maybe that's what it
Yeah,
is.
because they play it again, and then
more shit
bad
happens.
shit happens.
Yeah, like the trees come alive. When the trees are beating the hell out of the cabin, it's so good.
It's crazy.
Because it looks like it looks really. It holds up still for
Oh, it
how
holds
ridiculous
up.
it
holds
is.
Up. Well, it holds up because it's like you know what's going on.
Yeah.
You know what's going on with the filmmaking
Yeah, it
too.
fits. It fits the rest of the whole
and
feel of the movie.
and you're on board.
It's
You're
very
always on board.
cohesive.
Yep,
Yeah.
yep.
Totally. Totally.
So the house laugh scene, and then when Bobby Joe and all them arrive, and then he gets thrown down there with the demon Henrietta, and we actually have a clip where first she's singing. What is she singing? You are my sunshine.
Henrietta?
Is that what she's singing?
Wait, so before we get to Henrietta,
please.
I do want to just break down their first interaction.
Yes.
Where he shoots.
Bobby
'cause
Joe. He grazes Bobby
He
Joe.
shoots out the door because he hears noise and he just blindly shoots. And then it turns out this group of people comes in. They beat the hell out of him.
Yeah.
As you should.
And then they throw him in the cellar and they're like,
That's it.
done.
Yep.
He's in the cellar.
Let's
play
relax.
this recording.
Let's chill. And she's like, yeah, she got grazed, we think, but we never like.
No.
She just has her hand over her arm.
Yeah.
the
For
whole
the
time.
amount of blood that's been happening in this movie, she's like, I got shot.
It's just like, it must have. I think it just ripped part of her denim jacket.
They, like,
or
didn't-
she's just so badass because she's Baba Joe.
Baba Joe. She's
That was
super
her choice.
badass.
She actually took a bullet to the head, and she was like, "Oh, that kind of hurt."
Oh man.
Yeah. Oh.
It's Ace Ventura style. She caught it in her mouth
Yeah.
and spit it out.
Yeah.
What if she just kept talking about how much she hates trees before that, too? She said that, she's like, nothing
trees
can
are
beat
like,
Baba Joe, but I hate those trees. And it's like, why does she hate
Why does she
trees so
keep-
much? And then finally it's like,
The trees attack.
It would be funny if they did that scene with the blood rushing through the wall, and then they did her getting shot scene, and they were like, "All right, give us the fake blood," and they were like, "Oh, you need more fake blood?
Oh shit!
Oh, we just used all the fake blood
We
to
literally just used
to
everything.
shoot out of the wall."
Everything. I would love to know how many gallons of blood this movie. I'm sure.
oh,
there-
yeah.
There's a bunch.
In the
Hundreds.
The scene where the hillbilly guy, where he gets eaten, it's hilarious how much they're.
Oh, it's so good.
You can see her not being able to keep it together because she's getting just drenched with so much blood.
Because he gets dragged down into the cellar by Demon Henrietta. And as soon as he gets dragged down, just buckets, not even buckets, it's like 4 fire hoses just spray out of the cellar. And she's just like, holding on to it until he just
It's
goes
like if there was a closet full to capacity with blood, and then you open the door to the closet. That's how, like, it came in a wave like that.
so
It just,
crazy.
Like, flowed out.
Which is amazing because there's not that much blood in the human body, clearly.
Oh God, no!
It's so good. It's so good. And that's what Ash vs. Evil Dead gives you. It gives you buckets of blood every episode. At one point, he flings a deadite up into a ceiling fan, and it gets chopped to pieces by a normal ceiling fan. Not like an industrial, like, blade type fan. It's just like a wooden ceiling fan.
on low setting. It's just like kind of cruising
So
around.
good. I love Sam Raimi for that reason. So I want to play the clip with Demon Henrietta. Clip number 8. Can we play that?
Someone's in my fruit cellar. Someone with a fresh soul.
Someone's in my fruit cellar.
Oh, boy.
That is the worst fruit cellar of all time.
She really doesn't like trespassers in her fruit cellar.
I mean, maybe just sit and maybe put a sign up.
Yeah,
Because,
just-
like, if it were me, I'd be like, no, you're good. I'm going to stay out of your
good.
fruit cellar.
Yeah.
I don't need a fruit cellar
Can we
that
just
bad.
play that one more time? Because I love it so much.
Someone's in my fruit cellar.
That's a pineapple. That's not a person.
Someone with a fresh soul.
But see, that's a great example where Sam Raimi mixes horror and comedy really well because those voices are terrifying. They're so weird.
Well, it
and
sticks in your head.
Yeah.
Like that.
Someone's in my fresh soul, and the pitch goes all over the place.
Yeah.
It's so creepy.
That's his brother.
That's all Ted Raimi doing.
Yeah, that's Ted Raimi. Yeah. Well, I don't know about the voice, but the person in
Oh.
the Henrietta suit.
That's amazing.
Is Ted Raimi. That's his brother.
And then when he shuts the thing on the eyeball that falls into
Oh, yeah.
flies into Bobby Joe's mouth.
I thought that was going to come into play later.
I
It
thought-
never
yeah.
did. Like, I thought for
thought-
sure, like, she was going to turn, like, her stomach was going to turn
Yeah.
on her or something like that.
Something.
But
they
it
know
was gross by itself.
she gets sucked off into the woods by trees, and we don't know why. But before we already played the Dead by Dawn, so I don't think we need to do that again. But let's play it again just because I love Dead by
We
Dawn.
want what is yours.
Life. Dead by dawn. 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 Dead by dawn.
There's so much weirdness going on in that sound.
You know
clip.
what's crazy? I saw, you know, they have like fragrance commercials.
Yeah.
And it's like Love by Giorgio Armani.
Yeah.
There was one that was for Halloween, and it was like a spookier scent, and it was Dawn Essinger, famed famed scentitician.
Yeah,
Dawn Essinger.
Scentiticians.
Yep.
Scentiticians. It's a hard major to get. It's like a
God,
doc.
it's tough.
It's on par with doctors.
They only have a couple available in each program,
Yeah.
in each school across the country. It's tough to get into. But I was watching on TV and I saw this commercial for a new fragrance by Dawn, and it went like this.
We want what is yours.
Life. Dead by dawn. Dead by dawn. Dead by dawn. Dead by dawn. Dead by dawn.
They really hammer the name of the scent home.
Smells like- Like rotting flesh.
Smells like I was debating how dark to go. Like, it smells like a nursing home, and then I thought that might be too much, but I just said it anyways.
Smells like poop.
Damn
Like,
it!
what?
Damn it! So, Dead by Dawn. Oh my God! How much time do we have, Steven, in the booth? By the way,
3 hours.
10 minutes. Perfect.
Word.
That's enough. That's enough. I love this movie. So Bobby Joe just is after that point when she eats the eyeball, she's like, "Fuck it, I'm out."
Yeah, I would be too.
Bobby Joe was so tough until the eyeball hit her mouth,
I mean,
and that's enough to break the toughest.
classic saying. Like, it's all good until you eat an eyeball. Everyone always said that to me when I was a kid.
Remember that, Jesse. That's going to come into
all
play
It's
in
all
your
good.
life.
It's all good until you eat an eyeball. Yeah, you're right. You're right.
So she runs off in the woods. Then she gets attacked by the trees. They're piercing her face, which is all, if I remember right, a reference to Evil Dead 1, where there's an infamous tree rape scene.
Yeah, there's a
There's a tree rape scene.
Evil Dead 1, like that scene is like
Explain your
a
Michigan
bit
State brothers
much.
to me.
Like it's a bit much.
Yeah.
And like that one, like, because there's just some like weird sticks going up into places that sticks shouldn't be going up into.
And so,
Yeah,
they,
yeah.
so in Evil Dead 2, they threw back to that. They were like, remember that scene that upset everyone?
Remember that scene?
Well,
in
they're
case you
like, "Hey,
forgot."
remember that scene? Well, we're gonna do it off camera this time. We're just gonna drag her off."
She goes over there, and
They
then
did-
they get real weird.
You know, the new Evil Dead, the remake, actually did a good job of taking all the stuff from and justifying. If you haven't seen the Evil Dead remake, I don't know what your opinion of it is on it, but I loved it because I thought they did a great job of justifying why they don't believe her and why they stay there. Have you seen it? I haven't. Okay. Well, I'll just give you the basic premise is that you find out that these friends are taking their sister, I think it's the one guy's sister, to this cabin because it's an intervention and she's a drug addict and they're trying to get her to go cold turkey.
Awesome.
So so when she starts hallucinating and seeing things and getting pale and getting sickly and it starts happening to her and she starts getting possessed by the Deadites, they think she's just going off from not having any drugs, and it makes so much more sense why they won't let her leave. They don't let her have a phone, all this stuff. So check it out. It's gory as hell and it's awesome. But anyways, back to this movie. So then we already talked about how Overalls dies. Bobby Joe just disappears. Necklace, we talked about how the necklace brings out how Ash turns bad again, and she's trying to kill him, and then he turns back and he's like, "I'm back, it's me, don't worry." And it's like, no, I'd still be keeping you at arm's length.
I was
for
brought
a
back by
very-
love. That is an excuse. That
Wait,
could
then-
work.
Exactly. Then
Yeah.
why wouldn't he go, "Oh shit, I should have probably brought Linda back by like no moment does he go,
Or maybe it hit him that, like, maybe she didn't love me.
maybe.
Maybe.
You know, like, that
The
was his
scene where
moment.
she-
Of like,
this,
huh.
I know we didn't really get into it, but the scene where she's a deadite in the vice grip and then turns back into herself and she's like, "Please, Ash, Ash," and he's like falling for it again, which is amazing because it's a disembodied head, and then just the chainsawing her and blood spraying everywhere.
Because that's a trope that a lot of times they do in movies where it's like, "I'm just your grandma. It's fine."
Well,
But
they-
would I fall for it if it was? I probably would.
I think
don't
he
think I
was
would.
Somebody that I.
Well, yeah, but I think no, I
Not
think
if it was just a head.
Here's-
I would be
here's-
like,
Jesse doesn't
well,
care about
but
anyone.
I think here's the question: is if you believe that, like, if you're thinking like, "Oh, what if it's part of her soul that I could still save?" If maybe that's what it is. Maybe it's like, I know it's not really her, but maybe part of her is trying to come back from.
He's got
yeah.
all the logic.
I mean,
Look at
because
that.
they did
You
it
get
a
all
couple
the
times. They did
Deepak
it
Chopra up in here
with Henrietta also.
Yeah.
Henrietta like sings the song. and, like,
to Study Girl.
but it just
I
yeah.
wish I knew her name.
No, that's her name.
What's her name? It's
It's
Study Girl.
not Linda.
But just
know that.
we got to get into the
not Bucky
best
Joe.
the best part of
Process
the
of
movie.
elimination.
The best part of the movie is when he gets the quintessential look for Ash, which is going in there in the montage of grabbing all the parts, and then he holds up the chainsaw hand, saws off the double barrel shotgun, flips it around, and can we play clip number 10, please?
Groovy.
That's where Groovy started. And that's where the end of this movie is this movie's a great build to Army of Darkness, because Army of Darkness is a one-liner machine. Where
Where-
he's like, "You're a ruler of Jack and shit, and Jack's out of town." You know, it's like that's so good. There's, "Hey, she bitch, come get some." You know,
It's
hail to
where-
the king, baby.
Where
All that.
Duke Nukem got all
Yeah.
of his things. Actually, the last one I was on was They Live, and like
Yeah.
Duke Nukem stole
from
all their
everything,
lines
everything.
from this Army of Darkness and They Live.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
So Groovy, what was your reaction the first time you saw him Did you know he's going to attach the chainsaw to his hand?
Well, because they had the image in the book of him with the chainsaw.
When they allude to Army of Darkness there in the book. Like,
so I sort of
They say he's the chosen one. Man, he looks kind of like me. That's weird. That's what he should say there.
Yeah, it would be tough to make that leap to be like, oh, this book that's been around for
Must be
hundreds
me.
of years.
Must be 1300 AD.
Looks a
Must
whole
be
lot
me.
like
Must be me. Must be
Looks
me.
like me. Looks
That
like
checks
me.
out.
Can we play Groovy one more time?
Groovy.
Oh my god. That's anytime I think of Bruce Campbell, I immediately think of Groovy.
Groovy.
Just he's the epitome of groovy. Everything about him. It's so awesome. I don't even know if I want to improv on that because it's just so good. But if you have something,
I mean, the only thing I was going to say is I was in woodworking class in the 8th grade, and I was creating pieces to fit together, and so I just sliced a bunch of like little slits in the wood, and then I picked it up and I was just staring at it for a while, and it occurred to me, I was like, I looked at it and I was like,
Groovy.
that's the only way to describe this piece of wood.
That's how I felt whenever I played with Lincoln Logs back in the day.
Yeah.
Groovy.
Groovy.
Every time I pieced them together.
Yeah.
Have you ever heard my Austin Powers impression? It's not very good. It goes like this.
Groovy.
I don't sound anything like Austin Powers.
You sound a lot like Bruce Campbell, though.
Yeah,
really good.
Maybe I should just say it's a Bruce Campbell.
So
movie.
since we have 4 minutes
Say
left, I
that.
want to make sure we get into the last Deadite fight where the Deadite's neck stretches out to a Brontosaurus-style Deadite, and it's an amazing fight where clearly Bruce Campbell's just punching air, and they superimpose the film on top of it with the stop motion. It's incredible.
It's making a
the
chimpanzee
fist
noise
fight back
too.
and forth.
It's like, I don't know what's going on there.
And then the whole thing was they had to read from the Book of the Dead to bring it bring it out into the physical world, kind of like ripping Freddy out of the dreams.
Yep.
And then send it back in, kill it and send it back in,
And then they
or
had
send
to
it all
open,
back
the,
in.
open
Yeah.
the portal so that all the spirits
Yeah.
would go back.
So, but my favorite thing, he chops off Brontosaurus Deadite, and then, but Brontosaurus Deadite has to get one final word in before getting its face blown off. Can we play the final sound clip, number 11?
I'll swallow your soul. I'll swallow your soul. I'll swallow your soul.
Swallow this.
I love that it's still screaming as it's exploding, as if it has any vocal cords or anything left.
Well, as we've learned, like body parts apparently can
Yep.
exist independent of the rest of its body. So it just his vocal cords were still possessed, and it was like
And at that point, I mean, he really was just making false statements. There's no way he could do any more.
He has no stomach
She
to
could do
put-
any more.
yeah.
Yeah, there's
Right.
no esophagus anymore. It was half of one. It was really empty threats.
I like it sounds like an empty threat though too. Like it's like I'm a little demon. And you're like, nah, get out of here, little demon.
It's so good. It's so good. So then she dies because she got stabbed by Ash's hand. Dies. Everybody's dead except Ash. Then he gets sucked back through the portal with his car, slams down, knights arrive, and they're like, "You're our savior!" And we realize that Army of Darkness is going to happen now, or maybe not, I don't know, because at the time I don't know if they actually knew they were going to be able to make Army of
Yeah,
Darkness.
I think the idea was like, oh yeah, no, this is the end because it kind of is open-ended but also not
Yeah.
open-ended. And then in Army of Darkness, they don't really mention that scene.
No, because he just immediately is enslaved,
Yeah.
and he's a bad guy to them until he can prove otherwise.
Right.
this is what happened in Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. The first two, and then the third one they go back to what, Imperial China?
That's what it is.
And they're like, what is this?
Teenage Ninja
Yeah.
Turtles stole from Army of Darkness.
Figure that one out.
Can we play Groovy one more time?
Groovy.
Oh god, I love this movie. It's so groovy. If you haven't seen Evil Dead 2, watch it. If you're not watching Ash vs. Evil Dead and you're a fan of Evil Dead, you're really doing yourself a disservice. They're halfway through the second season now. You can pay $8.99 and watch all 20 episodes by the time you paid $9 for it. It's worth it. Support Bruce Campbell, support Sam Raimi, support awesome horror comedy because it doesn't come along that often. Now, ladies and gentlemen, where can they find you? Where can we find you to on
You
the
go first,
socials?
Dave.
On the
You go first.
socials
You
and the
go first.
media.
All right, you can find me at Too Much Jesse on Twitter, sketch coming soon, promlosers.com, and podcast 86 Charles.
Oh wow, yeah, great.
there
You
you
can
go.
find me at David
seemed
Kane
insincere.
1 on Twitter.
What was that again?
David
Sorry.
Kane 1, and I get the sub in film festivals around.
Nice.
And
What was your sketch show again?
I got a sketch show on the 9th at the Pack Theater.
All right.
Yeah.
All right, and you can find me at the Ben Begley, at Guilty Movie Guys is the Twitter handle for here, at Funhouse Mass for Funhouse Massacre, and you can check that out. I've said it 100 times. It's on Showtime now. Tweet me a photo of you watching it. Let me know what you thought of it. And until next time, ladies and gentlemen, this has been the grooviest podcast you've seen all week, but I want to know, what is your guilty movie pleasure?
Groovy.
From producers Maria Menounos, Kevin Undergaro, Phil Svitek, and the entire Popcorn Talk Network, we would like to thank you for tuning in. For questions or comments, be sure to visit popcorntalk.com. I'm Sir Richard Wentworth, and this has been a presentation of the Popcorn Talk Network.
The views expressed herein are those of the hosts only and do not necessarily reflect the views of the Popcorn Talk Network or its owners or principals.